The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author.
This podcast is a discussion, shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel.
The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning.
Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
If you are enjoying the podcast, check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/BookTok for BookTok. Welcome to BookTok for BookTok with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This winter, we are hosting a book club while we prepare our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our winter book club roster. By using our literary backgrounds, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we're discussing Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tuli. Okay, Jacqueline. If you had to describe this book in 10 words or less, how would you describe it?
Ooh, good. Ooh, you had that tucked away, putting this on me at first. Good question. Okay, 10 words or less. A perfectly executed first book that is entirely set up.
Great. I think that's a great description of this book.
And I did it in 9 words.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have not thought of my response to my own question. So.
Let's do a quick preface this first. You and I have never read Trial of the Sun Queen. We don't know. We have not read the other follow-up books, and we both listened to this on Audible.
That is correct. So we were really coming into this book and to this series blind. And I have to say, I enjoyed it.
I had such a fun time with this.
Yeah. If I had to describe it in 10 words or less, I would call it...
I'm going to start counting. Go ahead.
Shit.
Yeah. Maybe you should have given me 20 words, Amy.
Yeah, maybe. Sexy Hunger Games, but the action is not the focus.
10 wow. 10 words exactly. Good job.
So I love this setup book because you have no idea it's going to end up being a competition book.
Yes.
But it is very much a competition trope, just like Hunger Games and even The Serpent and the Wings of Night.
Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different competition tropes out there.
Absolutely. What I liked about this competition trope is that the competitions were very simple. They weren't very elaborate. And the focus wasn't action-packed scenes. The focus was, what does our protagonist learn about herself? Or about how her need for connection throughout her journey, because she definitely starts out a certain way. She's very hardened. She's had a really hard life. But by the end of it, I felt like she had very believable growth and now was a different person.
And still is that hardened person, because I don't think that we walk away from this book with her being like, wow, you know what? I should really give people more chances.
Yeah,
like, she definitely, like, it wasn't like, you know what? Maybe there is good in the world. I think she walks away. I mean, maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit here, but, you know, we're talking about character growth with lore, and the book ends with her being justified of saying, you know what? People are just as shitty and manipulative as I expected them. However, her priorities have never been clearer.
Right. And maybe sometimes there are people who are willing to help you along the way. But for the most part, we're still not going to trust people.
I don't want to be like, it's a good lesson. No, that's not the best lesson. But yeah, there is character growth. There is an arc with the character, especially where it is a competition. It is an interesting beginning. And where we end up everything makes sense. Like everything with this
Mhm.
book makes sense. And you and I talk about books a lot in the sense of beginning, middle, end and the arcs. And I think that this book has a very classic, I'd say 3, maybe 4 act structure. And it follows the recipe very well. And
Mhm.
there is a recipe to books. Like there is a structure to it. Now you can explore, you can have fun with it, you can mess around. But I think that this is a really good example of what happens when you don't mess around with it and you do follow it.
Mhm.
And it is done very, very well.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about the beginning of the book?
We'll call it Act One, and that is going to be the time in the prison.
Yes. So we find Lore in prison, and I loved the triviality of the scene and what gets her into basically solitary confinement.
Yeah.
Just a nice bar of soap that she had to
Sell herself for.
sell herself for. And she's like, it's the best smelling thing in the world. It
Yeah.
smells like roses. I don't know what roses are, but
Hmm.
this is great. You know, later on, she's going to realize, wow, that was not worth it at all. But it was a very illuminating way to introduce us to our character and the lengths to which she's willing to fight
Yeah.
just for the sake of a fight.
I think there was like, I mean, again, we listened to it. We didn't do it on physical book. So I don't know what page it's on, but I would imagine it's like page 1, maybe page 2. But she says something along the lines of like, you don't know what I had to do to get that soap.
Mm-hmm.
And then she thinks that she can still taste the salt from the warden. And I immediately I paused and I was thinking like, all right, we're going into it.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those books that's not going to shy away from the reality
Yeah.
of what it's like to be in a really, really hard situation.
And I really appreciated that throughout the first act and as it goes into the second act, that the author, Nisha, is not afraid to make this character very unappealing
Yeah.
and very beaten down. You know, the narrative talks about how malnourished she is at one point, how skinny and frail she is. She can't do anything physical. You know, training is
Mhm.
very difficult for her. That's a misnomer. She is capable of fighting. She's a scrappy fighter, but she has no muscle.
She's limited. She's
Yeah.
limited to what her body and her situation allowed her to. You
Yeah.
know, like if she was able to have 3 solid meals a day, I'm sure she'd be a much more scrappy fighter, but
Yeah.
she is doing the best she can. She's just trying to get by. And I think what makes this first act and this sequence in the prison is that everything, every theme, every trauma, every
Mm-hmm.
goal is established here.
Yes.
You have the importance of her brother and her sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have this realization that this is a woman who is willing to fight, not just fight, sell herself and fight for a bar of soap that smells nice. So
Mm-hmm.
she's trying to find joy somewhere
Yeah.
in this horrible world, and she's willing to cheat, borrow, steal, sell
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
order to get that. And you also see the fact that she is willing to find any kind of pleasure she can because of her
Mm-hmm.
relationship with that other guy in there, and isn't afraid to understand the system. Because when she gets into the fight with that other chick, and then the warden comes and she immediately is like, starts putting on a smile, is like,
Mm-hmm.
we can figure this out in your office.
Yeah.
She knows the rules of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as she recognizes that this is horrible and is wrong, and, talks about the amount of rape that happens in the prison, she will do what she can in
Mm-hmm.
order to get by. That is made so clear so early on. And
Yeah.
every single one of these things is everything you're going to see her struggle with. You're going to see her struggle with wanting to take care of her family. You're going to see her struggle with enjoying, pleasures in life,
Mm-hmm.
and then willing to put up a good fight.
Yeah. You said it so well. I think what I also love about this character is that to me, Lore reminds me of Risa from Guild, that
Oh,
she's
yeah. Yeah.
making conscious choices she would rather not make, but
Hmm.
at least there's power in her making the choice ahead of time, no matter how degrading certain things might be.
Hmm.
And we have to remember she's been in prison 12 years. She went to prison when she was 12.
Mhm.
Like half her lifetime, more
Yeah.
than a decade, has been finding her way and surviving in a place where people don't survive.
Yep.
So that speaks volumes of how resilient this character is.
And you also have this preface there where there is so much trauma surrounding this character that she doesn't even know what a rose is. 12-year-olds, they know what a rose is.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like she went into the prison system when she was 4 and truly doesn't know the outside world.
Yeah.
That's old enough to have memories on the outside,
Yeah.
but she's blocked it out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that is a trauma response.
The fact that Lore can't even remember roses is very
Mhm.
intentional from a narrative perspective, because what we don't know until much, much later in the book, almost near the end of the book, is the fact that Lore is hiding a secret.
Yeah.
And she very rarely thinks about it. We get occasional little tiny clues, but most of the time it is not in her brain. She is
Mm-mm.
very focused on the present.
Everything about her is protect your family, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes your memories
Yeah.
and getting rid of them and hiding them. You get a little bit of the clue when she's determined to find her necklace, and she, I think that's like probably the biggest clue, and it's done so well in the sense of like, okay, it's, it means something, but we're not going to get into it.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy the whole aspect of that secret because I'm sure there's more clues that I didn't pick up on. I'm sure we
Mm-hmm.
can go through and be like, ah, yes, this is when she was kind of like holding that back.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where I'm not surprised that there ends up being something special
Yeah.
about Lore at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, you're not going to have a book about someone who doesn't end up being special,
Right. Right.
especially when it's like Trial of the Sun Queen. She's going to make it to the end.
Right.
What's
Right.
going to be the big reveal? This
Right.
is a series, so you can make that connection, but it's not about throwing us off and surprising us. It's about how is it delivered.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. I think there were more clues. I'm not going to completely spoil it, but by the end of the book,
No, we
we
spoil. This is a spoil book.
so we learn about Lore's ancestry and her connection to, I can't remember if it's Scarlet Queen, Red Queen, whomever.
Yeah, the Heart Queen, whatever was.
Yeah. I don't remember her exact title. What I love about it is that references to this Red Queen
Mhm.
are your only breadcrumbs, right?
Yep. At the
It's
ball when they leave, there's the like seat open for the queen in
right, but
honor of.
even before that, the first time Lore is hurt and she's in bed and she asks Atlas to tell her bedtime stories or tell her about the lore of their world,
Yeah.
the very last thing he says and it's indirect dialogue, it's not direct dialogue, is it's one sentence about a red queen who almost ended the world, and that was it.
I didn't
And
catch that.
the second that was brought up, I was like, that's important.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder why that is important. Does it have something to do with lore? And the more the Red Queen is mentioned or what she did, there's
Mhm,
you get
mhm.
more information. And so I found that very, very interesting. And
Hmm.
I predicted that she was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be related to the Red Queen by the end.
Yeah.
But I felt like, despite seeing those clues, I was intrigued
Yeah.
rather than annoyed that I picked up on the clues.
Agreed. I think for me it was when at the ball and he was like the open seat is in honor of her. And I was like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
related. Okay."
Yeah.
Like, but again, like uh, that doesn't speak poorly on the fact that you can guess it.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we're reading, we know what we're getting into,
Yeah.
but it's not shoved down your throat. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like her being like, "I really wish I was a queen," like she
Yeah.
just wants to go back home. She wants to protect her family.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's like imagery of her in red. Cause the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that I can think of being red and red standing out is what's his face's favorite color,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
king's favorite color,
Which I wonder if that wasn't even his favorite color. I wonder if he planted that
right? Ooh. Ooh,
because
like
it's
that's
a
him
reference
knowing.
to the Red Queen. Yes.
Ooh. That would be
because
really
it
cool.
because it turns out the prince knows her identity the whole
Yeah.
time and is trying to fish for it.
Yep, yep, yep. He's like, hey, you know what'd be great? A red gown. I really love it when you wear red lips. Do you want this green apple or do you want this red apple?
That would be you.
I would have zero chill on trying to figure out if someone's a hidden red queen.
You know, we're talking about Atlas, and I think it's important we talk about Atlas and Lore's journey with
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yep.
At the start, middle of the book, did you
Mm-hmm.
really, really want Lore and Atlas to be together?
So now we're going into Act 2. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
we started with the whole theme with Act, so I'm going to
Yeah.
continue.
Sounds
We
great.
meet Atlas at the start of Act 2, and, I think in the structure of books, we have who's the other guy?
Nadir.
Nadir. So we know it's dual point of view. We know we're
Mm-hmm.
getting Nadir. Immediately I'm like, that's the real love interest, right? We know
Right.
all these things.
Yeah.
I don't think that Tuli, that's the author's name. I
Last,
don't
yeah,
yeah.
that's her surname.
I don't think that Tuli was trying to make us want her and Atlas together.
Mm.
Lore and Atlas be together. I think Tuli was trying to trick us into thinking that maybe Atlas isn't completely bad.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a moment of, oh, like I want them to be together because
Mm-hmm.
it just was so almost Tamlin coded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this like amazing blonde man who's beautiful and he's showing interest to her. I had zero trust in him from the
Mm-hmm.
get-go, but so did Lore. She had
Yeah.
zero trust. And I
Yeah.
think that both Lore and Tuli did a great job of I never fully trusted him. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was never a moment I was like, maybe he really is good, but they did a really good job of that small little voice saying, but what if he is good?
Yeah.
But what if?
Yeah. So I agree with your assessment that because Nadir is the second POV, I'm like, oh, this must be
Endgame.
Endgame,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I didn't want it. I didn't like him.
Really?
I really didn't like him.
Why? I mean, we're talking about Atlas and Lore, but like pause that. Why do you not like him?
I mean, I think there are things to like about him, but there was nothing endearing to me. I also
Mm,
felt like I know his aggression is about protecting himself from his father
yeah, yeah.
and not getting caught. So it's necessity, but I didn't feel like it was necessary, if that makes sense. So
Back to Atlas and Lore. That's
yeah, so because of that, because I didn't buy into his perspective in the sense that I didn't like him as a character, but I liked the people around him.
yeah,
I
yeah.
liked thinking about how are these two characters going to meet. But even though I also didn't trust Atlas, I wanted to be like, oh, is this one of those stories where he doesn't trust her, but then he falls in love with her?
Hmm.
She's obviously like, I craved love and affection for Lore as much as Lore craved it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, Atlas is perfect, and I know he's too perfect, but I'm so happy for her that she's receiving love. I want it to work. But by the time Atlas's true colors are revealed, I felt the same as Laura of like, yeah, no, Atlas, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah,
This is not meant to be.
I don't think it's meant to be a complete surprise because, and again, I'm going to applaud Tuli for this. Lore never loses who she is
Mm-hmm.
and questions him the entire time. The
Yeah.
only time that she really like leans into him is kind of like, well, it's a type of selling myself and I'm used to that,
Mm-hmm.
which is such a hard, brilliant concept to read
Yeah.
where, she's making the link of I've sold myself for worse.
Mm-hmm.
This actually might not suck.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. And ultimately, her motivation is I can get my brother and sister out of prison
Yes. Yeah.
if I become his queen. So whether or not there are feelings or physical attraction between the two of us, I can make the sacrifice if it means I get to fulfill my need
Mm-hmm.
to protect my siblings.
And if I get to enjoy the process in the
Yeah.
matter, then great. Kind of
Yeah.
like, good for me. For me, the moment where I think that it was a really good, is he good? And
Mm-hmm.
again, moment was when he goes down on her.
Yeah. And then
And
he's like, I don't
yeah,
need.
yeah. How quickly I'm like, oh, he is a saint. Wow. That's
That was kind of the moment for me too of like, oh, maybe he isn't using her.
yeah, right? Like, because he's like, hey, I'm going to go down on you and give you the best orgasm of your life. Let's go play in the water.
Yeah.
Let's go to the beach.
Don't
And
worry about my erection. It's fine.
yeah, like we're fine here.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, oh, do villains do that? I'm like, do villains go down on women? I don't know. Never been with a villain, or at least the lazy kind I have. And I think that like there were just these subtle moments where you kind of start to wonder of like, maybe he's not a good guy, but maybe he does care about her.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that is just enough but even in those moments, lore never lets us, the reader, fully buy into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how hard is that as an author to keep that true to her while keeping the story going, while keeping lore interested? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's a really hard balance to be like, not only does Tuli need us to question if Atlas is good or bad, slash kind of wants us to root for him, slash,
Mm-hmm.
but let's still not trust him, slash, but lore needs to grow, slash, but she needs to stay true to who she is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she walks a really fine line and she does a really good job at it.
Yeah. I'm very am impressed. That's not correct English. I very am impressed. So one of our listeners had a very similar sentiment of what we were saying about Lore's journey. They say the difference in the heroine's starting place, not her being perfect, BIPOC prominence in character.
So I'm going to start with the last thing you said. There was a lot of great representation.
Yeah.
Not only in race, skin tone, but also sexuality, orientation, that I felt like this was a book for everyone. And I loved that. I loved that. And I loved that no specific skin tone was associated with a single kingdom. From what I could understand of the world, it's a mix no matter where you go. It's not like only people of olive skin tone are from this area and only people of darker skin tone are from this area. I forget what Atlas's kingdom is called, but that particular kingdom has people who are white and fair and people with darker skin and silver hair and all these different variations that I thought was the perfect blend without making it a big deal.
Yeah, like I think that the book wanted to say, what is a world where race doesn't matter?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? And I think that we saw what that looks like. It is a world where it just is. Yeah. It's not part of the conversation. It's part of the world. Yeah. And when I say it's not part of the conversation, I mean it's not part of something where, like you said, this skin color is designated to this nation and this nation is one of the most brutal nations out there. That's not part of the conversation. What it is like described as humans, like everyone is they just are what they look like.
Same with sexuality. We have contestants who are queer, who have to hide that. We have
Gabriel going down on that guy. We'll talk about Gabriel in a second. I loved Gabriel.
We have to talk about Gabriel. But I even got a sense of flamboyancy from the stylist.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just the audiobook, but he was fantastic.
Yeah, no, he was. I got that too.
And Lore doesn't make a big deal out of it, right? Even though she's been in prison and who knows what prison looks like.
Yeah.
She doesn't make a big deal about people who are queer and out in society.
I don't think that this world makes the concept of queerness an issue, right? Like it seems like it's very open. Even the two contestants who are together and are queer, their worry isn't about, and this is like why it's done so well, their worry isn't about like, will people accept us? The worry is that this man already owns us.
Yeah. And we are not allowed to be together unless he grants it.
Yeah. I think that in a world where sexuality is embraced and isn't questioned, you still have the issue of ownership by men. Talk about doing it in such a good, subtle way. I mean, it's not subtle, it's in your face, but it's not, but it's also, it feels very part of the world, so I don't question it. But
Mhm.
like, you have Gabriel who's, sucking dick left and right over here. And but it's like, okay, well, he can do that because he's a man who owns himself. What about these women who are now all part of the king's property?
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
Atlas wants any of them, he's allowed to. He gets an
Yeah.
immediate harem.
And simply by wanting to participate in this trial or these competitions, you are forever an object.
Yeah.
You submit your power at the door and you're never going to get it back.
But it's all disguised as an honor, as,
Mhm.
a privilege. I really think that this plays into the bigger theme of this book, and that is ownership by men. And
Mhm.
you start this book off with the guards at the prison, who it sounds like are all men. I think that Tuli goes into this book saying the problem isn't women, the problem's men,
Yeah.
because all the guards there, I as far as I can remember, are men, at least all the problematic ones. You don't have the like, well, there's a female guard who's a problem too, right? It's just like, no, all these are rapist men. So it's like, here's Lore, who is owned by men, who
Mhm.
is doing what she needs to do, selling herself because of these men. And then she goes into this trial where she is owned by a man,
Mhm.
selling herself, needing to do what she needs to do in order to get by. And then how does she end this book? Being taken and owned by another man,
Yes. Stolen by another
stolen
man.
by another man. And like, not only is that Lore's journey, that is every woman in this book's journey.
Mhm.
Even other characters, like the one who takes care of her, I don't remember her handmaiden,
Oh, Mags?
Mags, but yeah, even her, and then the one who instructs all the women. There are multiple times that each of those female characters are put in their place by men, by Atlas, by Gabriel. It's a fascinating theme. It's not like a theme that is like, new or anything like
Yeah.
that, but it is one that I think is clear as day from page 1 all the way to the very last page, and I don't get tired of it. I think it's done really well.
I think so too. And I think its existence is necessary in a book where women are pitted against each other,
Yeah.
right? These women are not infighting for the sake of infighting. They're infighting because they have nothing that is
Yep.
their own. And so they all have to do the best they can and fight against each other to reach a better place, to own something for themselves eventually. Sometimes when we read books where the women are pitted against each other or fight against each other, we have readers who don't like that. And I completely agree.
Completely.
I think in this book, it felt absolutely necessary. It would be disingenuous for that to not happen.
Because it's still not about women fighting each other.
No.
It's about trying to survive a man's world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could have male queer characters competing on the competition and the dynamics would be the same
Yeah, yep.
because
It's the
they're
characters who are trying to fight back.
right. Exactly.
I think that, like, right now we're covering Trail of the Sun Queen, and then next week we're covering, even though we're recording that episode tomorrow, we are talking about Spark of the Everflame, and we're recording this the Saturday after the election. So I feel like you have this idea and this topic of men owning women
Mm-hmm.
and pitting them up against each other, and this idea of not having bodily autonomy in this book, in the next book, and it's just so jarring of how these two books have very similar themes of women being in control of their body, of their destiny, and neither diminishes from the other. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, this is not a topic or a theme that gets tiring. Everything about this book, there's not everything, but there's a lot of things about this book, even where they're doing the first trial and then one of the girls falls into the water and she's like, I can't not get her. And it was totally Harry in the Goblet of Fire
Yeah.
refusing to let, who was it?
Cedric Diggory.
Cedric, yeah, but who was the one that she brought back? Fleur's younger sister.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, when he's like, I have to bring her back. I have to save her too. It gave me absolute Harry Potter vibes of like, oh, these like sea creatures are trying to kill, I'm like, all right. So there's a lot of things that have been done before.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel old to me.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I felt like she had the right combination of things we've seen before in a different way with different worlds. And I was convinced that this is completely unique.
Okay, so let's go into something that people didn't like. One of our listeners says, I felt the personality of Lore disappeared after the prison. Plus, the romance was just Walmart Akatar. That's really funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, the Akatar-ness, the Tamlin factor is, I think, becoming part of the romantasy genre and part of its formula. In the sense that everyone wants to replicate that twist.
Yes. Here's my challenge to that. I ask you, and I asked myself, and I asked this listener, how much of Tamlin is there really? And that's I think that's a real question, is we get this idea of the fake out first love interest. Yes, that is a trope that we see. And to me, that is the Tamlin, right? Is the fake out love interest. I do love a fake out love interest. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a trope we see, but I never think Atlas was truly meant to be the fake out love interest because Lore never believes it either.
Right. Lore never genuinely falls in love, and Atlas never genuinely loves Lore the way Tamlin loved Feyre to the best of his ability.
And neither claim it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Atlas does a lot of things to show he wants to protect her. Now, protection doesn't mean caring. Protection means in his own interest. But it's like Atlas and Lore were both doing their own dance of, hey, I'm here to protect you. And she's doing, hey, I don't trust you. And they're both kind of dancing around each other the entire time. And I think that there is a physical attraction. How can there not be with hot men in this book? And I think that there probably was a real physical attraction on his part too. Maybe there wasn't, who knows? But I feel like I compared him to Tamlin, yes, but where's the comparison to that? And I don't, when I think about it, I don't see it.
That's fair. I can see, though, where some of the Akatar elements are coming in, maybe from this listener's perspective, because Lore deals with food insecurity the way Feyre had to, right? So there's this big focus on food and being fed.
She's the youngest of 3 siblings.
Right, exactly. So I can see some of those parallels.
Yep.
To the point this listener made about Lore losing her personality, I understand what they're saying, because I don't know if folks are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but when your basic needs are not met, shelter, food, security, you can't access higher level functioning.
Yep.
And so Lore in the prison is
the bottom of the pyramid. She's just trying to
survive.
Get those needs. Yeah.
Right.
And then the higher you go up that pyramid, and each time another level of needs is met, you get to reach like the next level of pyramid. And then finally it becomes like love. And I think that's not even like the very top, but then it's like, and then you can think about yourself type thing. Like it's very
right. Or just you can think about, what does it mean to have morals? What are your ambitions in life other than feeding yourself?
Yeah.
And I can see how, now that Lore's basic needs are met when she's with Atlas in his palace, she might feel like a different person, because she now has the opportunity of thinking of something other than, when is my next meal?
And she doesn't have to fight for that.
Right. Exactly.
She doesn't have to fight for it. She doesn't have to get into worrying about selling herself. She doesn't have to worry about, she's worried about her siblings, but she doesn't have to actively worry about them in her presence. And I think that where we do still see the Lore of it all is her resilience to continue to fight. I also think where you see the Lore of it all is her never believing that she's actually going to get it and win.
Yeah.
Like there's never a moment of, like, I think I can truly do this. I think it's more of like in theory, I guess I could win. And in theory, I guess I could save my siblings. But like,
But really, I'll probably die.
yeah, like it's just a whole lot of like, I guess I'll keep going because like they'd be stupid not to. But like, let's
Right.
be real here. This isn't going to happen. And how much of that is a clue within itself of her knowing that she's related to this lost Red Queen and probably guessing that the mirror wouldn't accept her.
Yeah, that's probably true. I wonder if there's also a worry, will the mirror reveal who I am?
Yep,
And
yep.
that's going to result in my death anyway, because nobody wants anything to do with the Red Queen.
Yeah. This is where we have to read the rest of the series. And I am totally going to read the rest of the series. Like, I am definitely interested in it.
I already bought both of the audiobooks for the sequels.
I'm excited for us. We share Audible accounts, so we're family on Amazon.
I think I also bought the sequels for Spark of the Everflame already.
You did.
Too.
I thought you said you already listened to it, or
no, I haven't listened.
Okay,
I just bought them.
That's exciting. Fun fact: if you did not know this, you can become family with people on Amazon, and then you have access to each other's Audible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Kindle.
Yep. So I benefit from Jack's Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
And we both benefit from each other's Audible libraries.
Yep.
Me more than you.
I have a long years of Audible collection in there, but then you'll be like, I went and bought the rest of this book series. I'm like, hell yeah. We're both gonna listen to it. Yeah, I am excited for the rest of this series, but I don't want to wrap this up at all. I want to keep going. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you.
I think what you're about to say was we have to talk about
Gabriel.
Yep.
Half brains. Gabriel.
Okay, so can I tell you my visual image of Gabriel?
Yeah.
A really grumpy, really hot Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. I don't know why.
I mean, he's a himbo.
He is such a himbo.
Is he blonde? I imagine him as blonde.
He's blonde.
I mean, to me, everyone's Theo James. So
put a blonde wig on Theo James, and there you go.
Well, it's almost like he's like a Hemsworth brother, or you know, or if everyone's not Theo James, everyone's Henry Cavill. You know what I mean? Like you know, just like a really attractive guy who's blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved him and his relationship with her, and the fact that he was never good.
Yeah, he is so unlikable. He's likable.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think what I like about him is he's authentic.
Mm-hmm. Completely.
He is always going to tell Lore the truth about how he feels, about how stupid she is.
Whether she's asked for it or not.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Oh, I can't remember exactly, but I think Gabriel said something. Well, of course I wouldn't believe that you would survive this. I don't think you're stupid. You know I don't believe in you. She's like, thank you. Yeah. He never stops disliking her, even when he dislikes her.
Yeah.
Or even when he does like her, he still dislikes her.
Yeah. I think there's an equal hardness in him that there is in Lore. And I think there's a lot of backstory to Gabriel that we don't know about, right? Because he keeps making references that he belongs to the Sun King, that he doesn't have choices.
Yep. And there's connection with Nadir. Like, you can tell they go way back.
Yeah, connection with Nadir. And whose cock was he sucking? I feel like that's important. I
thought it was going to be Nadir.
I did too, or the Sun King.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be someone that it was like, oh my god, it's going to be one of them. And I also like that she just kind of kept watching.
Yeah. This is hot.
Yeah, and I'm like, give us more screen time. Keep going. And then he was like, I need just 4 more minutes. No. The confidence that he has there. He's like, I'm almost done here.
Very confident.
What I love about him is that his character is defined by his motivation, and we don't know what his motivations are. We know that he's there to protect the Sun King as much as possible.
Yeah.
We don't know necessarily why, because it almost feels like it's more than he's my king, I need to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why he doesn't trust the Sun King.
Yeah.
You know, like clearly the Sun King is hiding something from him because he keeps
Mm-hmm.
questioning it. But everything he does is about his motivation, and we can make some guesses and some assumptions, but we never truly know what is going on behind that crunk himbo mind.
Yeah, and I would say both Lore's journey and Gabriel's journey make me want to keep reading.
Yes.
Because I'm not just invested in Lore, I'm invested in like what's wrong with Gabriel. Like
I want him to be safe.
I want him to be safe, but he's also so jaded. He needs some healing.
He does need some healing.
My hypothesis is he sold his soul in a way that the Sun King's death would result in Gabriel's death as well. So he
Ooh.
has to keep Atlas alive no matter how he feels about Atlas.
Interesting. I definitely feel like I agree, there's some kind of signing away, especially since that seems to be all of Atlas's MO. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to own everyone.
Yeah.
God, there's just so many good questions and mysteries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why were the trials 2 years ago gone? Why did they all die? What is it that Atlas did he think he had the Red Queen descendant there?
Mm-hmm.
Did he actually not? Is Gabriel the one who killed him? Because at one point he looks really somber and he says that was an unfortunate incident or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of questions that I still have, and Gabriel's one of those people where a lot of the questions surround him.
Yeah, and a lot of questions surround Lore and her family's background.
Yeah.
And the Red Queen, and it's definitely a mystery I want to solve by reading more.
Yeah, you notice how she kept going back and forth from calling her siblings her family versus her friends? I need to get my friends. My friends are still in there. They're trapped. Will you save my friends? Versus her calling them her family in her mind.
Oh, yeah. I do recall that because they kept their relationships secret.
Secret, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the case at the beginning.
Even at the prison. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured when I was like, this keeps happening. I guess they established that early on and I just missed it.
Yeah, they did. There's a moment early on where Lore's talking about Tristan and Willow and how Tristan is the prince among the prisoners.
Yeah.
And the guards really like him.
Yeah.
And that they intentionally keep their relationship secret so that Lore's reputation doesn't tarnish Tristan's.
Yep. You're right. Okay, I want to go into favorite scenes, or maybe not favorite scenes that just resonate. And for one, I think because we were talking about Gabriel, it's the moment that he betrayed Lore. And I was kind of confused about the whole thing. He told Lore to get the ring from Nadir. I just want to go through it so you can correct where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So he tells her to get the ring from Nadir. She gets nervous because it's a prince, and she keeps asking about the ring because she doesn't know what it means to him. Once she realizes it doesn't mean anything to him, that's how she figures out that it's a betrayal. But I don't understand why that's the realization. Yeah, because why can't she just still steal a ring?
I could be misremembering. So the trial was at a certain time, your handler's going to tell you your target.
Yeah.
And you have to steal a valuable trinket from your target. I don't know if they actually instruct them what it is or not. So the reason that Gabriel tells Lore to target Nadir is because he knows it will piss off Atlas.
Yeah. You keep tapping your table. You keep trying to make points.
He will piss off Atlas, who might reveal his motivations.
Yeah.
It will also be a way for Gabriel to signal to Nadir, this is the prisoner you're looking for.
Okay, so that was part of his mastermind, because then it's almost like get her out of here too.
Exactly. Take her back. We don't want her because Gabriel wants to separate Lore from Atlas. Because from Nadir's point of view, what you learn is that Gabriel specifically moves part of her sleeve so that he could see the prison brand.
Yep.
on her arm or shoulder so that he knew.
Yep, yep.
And I'm guessing Gabriel gave Lore the wrong target. And so Lore figuring out the trinket she was supposed to target means nothing is counter to what she was told the trial would be.
Okay, that makes more sense because I that was one where I'm like, okay, I know it's like I know what everything is supposed to be doing, and I'm here. I get what's going on, but how do we get here?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
but how do you know that this ring means nothing is the signal? But that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I get that now. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh, yeah, I enjoyed that scene quite a bit because we got to see Atlas lose it. Oh, I absolutely love Nadir's point of view of Atlas. I
Mm,
love the amount of times that he reflected on Atlas and just kind of like dismissed him for some of these, like, oh, I bet he's happy just chasing around all these women.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But particularly when they show up to the ball and it's from Nadir's point of view, and he looks at how Atlas is pretending that no one recognizes him because of his
Mm-hmm,
mask,
mm-hmm.
and he says like he's probably getting off on the idea of thinking that he's fooled everyone when in actuality he hasn't.
Yeah.
And then you get that moment from Lore's point of view, and
Mm-hmm.
it's endearing, but even she kind of calls out, well, it's bullshit thinking that no one knows like who it is. But when you get it from Nadir's point of view, you can see just how full of himself Atlas is by
Yeah.
doing that. But in Lore's point of view, it's like kind of cute, but also kind of cringy.
Yeah. Which is a great narrative way for Tuli to signal to readers Lore's point of view might not be entirely reliable.
Yeah, yeah. It's not entirely reliable, slash she's not an idiot. She knows that
Right.
she's still able to flag some things.
Right. And so her doubts about Atlas may be shared among others.
Exactly. I really love, like, I know I keep talking about it, but I really do love her doubts of Atlas because it just makes me feel better where I'm like,
Yeah.
good, I didn't trust him either. Although, because yeah, I mean, it was so quick. Like, she calls out his straight teeth, and whenever you get someone in a book and you call out their straight teeth, they're almost always evil.
Really?
That's what I've noticed. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's always been like my red flag whenever like someone smiles and because then they notice like their straight teeth,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that kind of gives like this, they're perfect, and their smile they know is
Mm,
perfect, and here's my amazing, charming, perfect smile. And I've
interesting.
yet to, I mean, who knows, I read a lot, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like whenever that's called out, that's always a signal that that's the bad guy.
That's an interesting point of view. I would be interested as we continue to read to see if that comes up again in any of the other books.
Yeah,
The reason why it didn't phase me or wasn't the same signal for me is because I mean,
you love a straight teeth.
well, no, 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 no. Laura's been in prison. I'm sure a lot of those people have crooked teeth or are
Yeah, yeah,
missing
yeah.
teeth or whatever. So it makes sense for her to notice straight teeth because she probably doesn't see a lot of those.
It's true, but you love some straight teeth. I don't know. I want to point out another thing that one of our listeners really liked, and that is the magic system in the world building. They say it's definitely inspired by Throne of Glass, but not in a bad way.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember Throne of Glass. We haven't started our analysis of it yet, so couldn't tell you.
I actually felt that the closer analogy would actually be the kingdoms in Kate Golden's book.
Yeah, I'd
How,
agree with that.
there are these different kingdoms and each one
Yes.
has its own climates and color associations and power
The
associations.
Aurora, yeah.
Right, right. So that's what it seemed more like to me. But I'm
Hmm.
sure both Tuli and Golden base that off of something else, like that they've
Yeah.
read. So it
Y-
makes sense.
yeah, no one claims the like everything here is this world, like, I mean, I
Right.
get that's probably what they're referencing, where it's like, the different courts and
Right.
stuff, but like,
Just like in ACOTAR.
yeah, but even that is based off of lore and
Mm-hmm.
fairies, and you have the different Seelie courts and stuff, so
Right.
that is a thing. I Here's my question, remind me, Amy, what's the magic system here? I know that Atlas can do illusions. I
Mm-hmm.
know that there's quote unquote magic. I don't know the rules behind the magic. I can't remember anything
I
off the
don't
top of my head.
I don't remember the rules either, to be honest.
Yeah. So I don't want to say like someone saying that they like the magic system and us being like, no, y'all wrong. This is me being like, one, I want to like specify I don't remember if there were rules. Two, this could either be a lore just isn't exposed, has never really been exposed to magic, so she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know the rules, so she doesn't really need to. So there's no getting details from her,
Yeah.
which is valid and that's true. Or I can't remember what letter I'm on. C, three, I don't know.
B.
B, or there is no magic system and it's just the SJM magic.
Yeah, or I think C, there is a magic system, but for us that wasn't the main focus. And I don't think Tuli belabored whatever that might be.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to have everything in the first book be a detailed outline of like, they have to have this certain summoning aspect in order to get this one illusion thing going on. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need those details. I will always reference the SJM version of magic where it's like, but what is magic, SJM? Like, what are we doing here? Can mist everyone an army with just a snap of his fingers, but we can't do a cesarean section? Like, what's going on here with this magic system? But yet there's a magic bean, and we never gave Farah that in order to read and learn how to write. And like, what's okay? It, but I think that the Akatar magic is my gold standard of what not to do
Yeah.
in when you're trying to have magic.
Yeah.
And a lot of books are like that. And it doesn't make them a bad book. A lot of books. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head a book that has like a very clear magic system, which there has been. I don't know. I had COVID this week. Leave me alone, guys. I can't remember things. I had COVID for the first time. I think it's important that they know that. Almost 4 years went by. Almost 5 years went by and I didn't have COVID. Anyway, I think this is just me harping on it because I'm working on my own book and I'm like, magic system. I like to have some rules and guidance of
Mm-hmm.
what people do and what's within their limitations. That's all.
Okay.
He's just staring at me. You're
No,
like,
I'm smiling
you're like,
because
she has a rant. Go, let her go.
well, I think for me, there are certain books that don't want to focus on the magic system because they want to tell a story that doesn't rely on the reader understanding how the magic works.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what Akatar is. That may or may not be
This world. We don't know. Yeah.
Tuli's world. I yeah, I've read 3 books since then, so I can't
I
quite
know,
remember
right?
at
I'm
this
like,
moment.
I don't know what's happening, and I don't know who does what anymore. That's the one thing about like us trying to power through Winter Book Club is like, wait, what did we talk about? What was that book about?
Yeah, yeah. What was the characters' names?
Yeah. I never know that, so that's fine.
I had to look up Lore's name because I'm like, it's not Diem, that's Spark of the Air Flame, Everflame.
Yeah, oh, I call her Carpe.
Oh man.
In order for me to remember DM.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Lore, I think what I like about it is that I'm convinced that that's part of a clue of who she is
Yeah.
because everyone is like, lore? Just lore?
Yeah. And she's like,
Like,
yes.
Lorelai really liked Gilmore Girls in this world. Somehow we got reception and I got it here. Yeah, it's the same way whenever I introduce myself as Jack and people are always
Mm.
Jack? Jack Yeah, it's short for Jacqueline. What do you think
What do you think?
what do you think? So, I've done a couple of speed dating things and I went to one last week and the amount of time every single one, "Hi, what's your name? I'm Jack." Every single guy. "Am I supposed to call you Jack?" The amount of men who are insecure. And I would be like, "It's okay. You can call me Jacqueline. That's fine." You know, I get it. Like there's a thing that guys just when they're romantically interested in me, they don't want to call me Jack, which
Yeah.
is okay. However, if I'm in a relationship with someone, you're not going to call me Jacqueline. You're going to be calling me what other kind of cutesy name.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'll be offended if you try to call me Jacqueline because I'll Are you mad at me?
Yeah, yeah. They're
The
just
only
trying to
people
get your attention.
Yeah, the only people who call me Jacqueline is you and my mom.
Yeah, I know. Your mom when she's mad, me when I'm trying to get your attention.
Both are true. Both are I don't know, every once in a while she's pulled out a Jacqueline on me.
I guess she does it sometimes when she's like being serious or trying to get your attention.
Hey, Jacqueline? Yeah, it's a trying to get my attention.
Or it'll be
She'll
like, you'll say something, she'll be like, Jacqueline.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the word.
like, how dare you say that?
My life's mission is to both offend her while making her laugh, and she's laughing so hard she can't be offended by what I said. That was a weird tangent.
Since we haven't read the rest of the series, do you
Yeah.
want to share any of your predictions based on your understanding of the first book?
I think what I'm excited about the Nadir lore relationship is I don't think we're going to get angry puppy to lovers. Now, Nadir might be more. Oh, actually, take that back. Nadir at one point is interested in lore in like a very guttural, instinctive way. And there is one single line in the entire book that casually says, mates are so rare, they're basically a myth.
Yeah. And it happens just before Nadir shows up and sees
right.
lore.
It's one of those, okay, I see what you did there. And then all of a sudden it's that guttural, like, I am so attracted to her. This, like, everything about her, these piercing, dark brown eyes, I must be with her. All right. Sometimes you just kind of have to, like, throw it in there, and not everything has to be subtle. We get it. I love a fated mate. I accept this here. So we might get this moment where maybe we got angry puppy to lovers, I don't think that she's going to necessarily trust him. I would be disappointed if Lore doesn't question him as much as she did Atlas.
Yeah.
I would be disappointed. I would love to see her being just as hard as on him as she is. We did have a listener say that they didn't like Nadir in book 2, which gives me hope that he's not the angry puppy to lover, that he's as much of an asshole. I would love them to absolutely hate one another.
That is my prediction. And part of it is because of our listener who said I hated Nadir in book 2. I think he's going to be so focused on trying to kill his father, figure out what his father knows about lore, that he is going to be such an asshole.
I think you're going to love him.
Despite what does that say about me?
You're not arguing.
But I think he's going to be such an asshole, and she's going to be really hurt.
Yeah.
Either mentally or physically or emotionally by the things that he does. Will they kiss in book 2? Probably.
Maybe a good old angry fuck. I would love that.
Yeah. Maybe some forced proximity. Maybe they get trapped somewhere or stranded somewhere. Who knows?
I wouldn't hate a one bed trope. Wouldn't be mad at that.
No, not at all.
I welcome it. Yeah, their relationship is going to play a part. I think what I do love is that there's been enough plot that's been developed that I think that there's enough plot to hold the second book.
Yeah.
There's enough things for them to figure out, go on the journey of. There are enough questions as a reader about this world, about lore, about Gabriel, that we want to know about. How does Atlas know who she is? Why does Atlas want her? Clearly the mirror gave her a clue saying, go get the crown and you'll be able to come back and I'll give you a gift. So like that alone, I'm like, okay, so book 2 is they're going to find the crown or go hunting for the crown. It's going to take a long time before Lore even tells him the truth about it. She's probably going to hide some of her feelings of like, I want the crown, he wants the crown, but he can't know why I want the crown.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be her realizing if she even wants the crown, because she may not want to. She'll probably become full fae in order to do that. There was probably some curse that removed the powers from the Red Queen and her descendants from being able to access the powers that they have. In my mind, we are crushing this.
We could be totally off base.
I know. In my mind, people are listening being like, wow, they're so intuitive.
And little do we know when we read the next two books, we'd be like, wow.
Like, we were off.
Yeah,
So off.
yeah.
What? Yeah, I think that there's a lot more to be developed and surprised about.
Yeah, I'm really
And
excited.
I'm excited because I know that I know. I love how I just said I know, and I don't know what I'm about to say. I do know. Okay. I'm convinced that Gabriel will abandon Atlas in book 2, and there's going to be a reunion between Gabriel and Lore, and that's going to be a funny moment.
I think that the reunion actually doesn't happen to book 3, and I think he's forced to work for Atlas and sacrifices himself.
You don't think he's going to
For
live?
I think Gabriel dies by the end of book 3.
I'd be okay with that. I'm always open. I think that
Give me a good character death.
yeah. Oh, we didn't even talk about it, but I do want to give props to the final challenge sequence.
Yeah.
I think it broke lore in a very realistic way.
Yeah. I think it broke all the characters in a very realistic way, starting in basically a cave on a cliff.
Yep. Starving.
Starving, right? It makes sense that that would break the other women and not Lore necessarily, that she's able to figure it out. But then the whole having to save
Jump yourself off, throw yourself off of a cliff first.
Throw yourself off of a cliff and then go save your family from death and make sure they escape when they're running away from you.
Yeah. Like, okay. It is a lot. I think what I love about it too is that it is something that Lore is used to, but at the same time, it's going to be more triggering to her than it is for anyone else there. So while she's mentally more prepared, I think she's also mentally more susceptible.
Yeah.
Because now she's back at the prison. She's back to being cold. She knows how far she's come in her comfort. Like she now knows, oh shit, I've gotten soft. Like this is, I am not prepared for this. I don't want to go back to that. Yeah. And then, they get a little bit more food. They get some of that stuff in, like food in the belly. The way that she is absolutely broken, realizing that her siblings aren't there with her, and the fact that it toyed and broke and messed with all of the contestants, that is the final straw for her. She then chooses, I don't want to do this. Send me back. Fuck you. You can't make me be in the mirror. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You're still not cool. I'm out of here, bitches. You can't force me to do anything.
I liked that that's where she ended up.
Yeah.
That she was like, no mirror, no potential power of being queen is worth the mental turmoil you just put me through and just put people around me through.
And it reiterates to her what matters the most, and that is her siblings. And she's cool with it. Even when she comes out of the mirror, what did the mirror said? That she's better off to be queen. Like, I don't care. like she's like, no, like it's her journey. I was surprised that the mirror did make her queen. What's her face? And then at the very, very end, like after she turns to Gabriel after she comes out of the mirror saying, she was like, nope, you promised to take me back.
Take me now.
Yeah, you said so. These are the rules. I'm just following them.
I thought it was a great end sequence.
Absolutely. It just solidified for her what matters most, and that's going to get her journey started in book 2. We end the way that we began, her caring about her siblings.
Yep.
It's beautiful. Great book. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Is this the best book I've read my entire, like all year long? No, but it's definitely in the top 10 of what I've read this year. Like I don't think I even have a book that's the best book I've read all year. Like I'm just happy. I'm just happy to be here.
I think that it's a 10 out of 10 on the entertainment scale for me.
Yeah. Execution wise, I give it a very high score. I didn't read it. I listened to it. So who knows if that would be a different experience, but execution of writing a book, of skills, of technicalities, of all of these other things, I give it a high score. Like 8 out of 10, maybe even higher. I don't know, maybe lower. I don't know, but I think that it's entertaining and well written. Good job, Tuli. All right, this can be sent to her.
She is allowed to listen.
There, you know what? Actually, yeah, someone did say, I bet if we messaged her, she would be on the podcast. This is one that I would definitely love to talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just have to read the other stuff. We got things to do.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Next week, we will be discussing Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you would like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this winter, please be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we ask for listener submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Booktalk for Book Talk. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share.
Sharing is caring. We'd appreciate it. Love you forever. Bye.
All right, are we good?
Yeah, hold on. We should end on a better note than my mom. I mean.